Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to All Beer Inside. After our 2-month hiatus, we are back at the brewery, and joining me today is Owain of Thousand Islands Brewery in downtown Brockville.
Hi, nice to have you here.
Hi, thank you very much for hosting us today and being our relaunch of All Beer Inside.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Very, very happy that you stepped up and you're letting us do this today. Looking forward to trying some of your great beers and talking about Thousand Islands Brewing.
Right on.
So as we do with most shows, we're going to start with the beer. I understand you had a busier day, so you're going to withhold from beer today, which is fine. What am I going to start with here?
I would definitely start with this actual flight closer to me. So this here is our amber ale.
Okay.
When we first launched, or when we first opened up, we had 4 core beers. Our amber, our APA right here, and our lager closest to me. The 4th was our wheat beer, but we've since changed that out, and we've swapped our wheat out for a traditional Belgian style wit beer. So that's what the furthest one is here.
Belgians are pretty rare too, so that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, so the amber is what, 4%, 4.5?
4.5%, around 18 IBU. It's, I want to say, one of our flagship beers. That with our APA is definitely majority of what I see as like outbound sales anyway.
Awesome.
Yeah.
As we do,
Cheers.
Cheers. Light caramelly.
Yeah. Just a little bit of Kiristan in there.
Yeah. Like a lawnmower beer, I'd find. This would be like something good to sit out in the sun. It'll obviously have a huge patio, terrace, as we call them in Quebec there.
Yep.
This is one of those beers, I'm sure, with the lager, because I always love a lager personally.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Tasty beer.
Yeah.
So, what made you create Thousand Islands Brewery?
Well, I was at a brewery in Ottawa for a long time. Before that, bartending, restaurant industry, managing restaurants, that sort of thing. And I was looking for the next kind of natural progression in my career. And I approached Islands Brewing Company outside Ottawa, and they are open Peter Austin system style of brewing, open fermentation. And you know what? I emailed them on a Thursday, and they got back to me, and they're like, "Hey, you know what? Somebody left last week. Can you start tomorrow?" I was like, "Yeah, absolutely. I want in, whatever it takes." So I started sweeping floors, filling growlers, whatever it took. And then they kind of gave me more and more work. They sent me for some schooling. I just kind of, like a sponge, soaked in as much as possible. And about 5-6 years into that, Thousand Islands Brewery approached me, said that we're opening up down in Brockville, want to bring you on board, train the staff, kind of set us up, develop your own beer styles here. They liked what I did at Ashton, and been here since 2019, moved the family down in 2020, and here we are.
That's such a crazy time frame too, because like you're hearing things overseas, and you're like, huh.
Yeah.
All right, is this gonna happen? Are we gonna be able to now? You're coming up on 4 years. It's
wild
pretty
to
wild.
Think about. Absolutely. Yeah, I remember. So we had opened in August 2019. We had a really good fall, really good winter. And then we're anticipating St. Patrick's Day. We're like, oh, this is gonna be awesome, big party. Everything's gonna be great. And then a week before it, we got the news, all right, locking down. Okay, what are we gonna do now? How do we pivot? How do we maneuver this situation?
Yeah, and I mean, I'll say the province of Ontario, from what I've caught online and from the other brewers we spoke to, is the government was very like, do home deliveries, do this, do that. So
yeah, they worked with us. It was awesome. Even getting our SKUs in the LCBO, I'm not necessarily going to say they made it easier, but they were like, we understand that breweries need this outlet to survive. Let's get some SKUs in the LCBO and let's really get going with this. And then obviously the home deliveries as well were fantastic.
Yeah, that's, as a Quebecer, that's super jealous of that.
Yeah.
Now, we did have some beer specialty stores in Montreal that did home deliver, which was great because that way I could get a variety, but you know, it's the same thing as if I could have gotten an order from you. And did you do just kind of the Brockville Kingston area?
We did our area code. So Mallory Town, which is about 20 kilometers one side of us, and then up to about Johnstown the other side of us,
Okay.
and like kind of the surrounding area,
Yeah.
greater Brockville area.
And then I guess certain value, free delivery and all that stuff.
Yeah, free delivery over anything over a case really was a free delivery, and we also had shipments because we had delivered to a lot of bars in Ottawa. So the Barley Mow group of pubs were able to do a lot of takeout sales, and we were just shipping as much beer up to them as possible, and they were taking orders for home deliveries out of their locations as well. So it was really great.
It's great that a lot of you guys did survive
Yes.
the pandemic, and especially newer business like yourself and other businesses that opened during the pandemic, a lot are still going, which is amazing to show that really the community stepped up, and it's like, okay, I got to support local businesses, and that's always been a thing with, at least with our show and our friends, is we've always done our best to support local breweries.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, like, I'm sure you've seen it talking to all the brewers across Ontario, Quebec. There's such a good community in that I can call them up and be like, hey man, how'd you do this? Or they'll call me up and, hey, I'm having trouble with my filter, whatever it may be. And we troubleshoot it together, and we come to solutions together rather than kind of like going against each other.
Yeah, I see it as friendly competition. I want you to be successful, but also I need to be
Yeah,
successful.
because at the same time we have to understand that like these are businesses, right? And we have to meet those demands. So, yeah.
And when you were starting Thousand Islands, the restaurant was always going to be part of it. Food was always going to be part of it. It wasn't just going to be like a brew house or a brew pub.
So
type thing.
originally, I was always surprised that there wasn't a brewery in Brockville to begin with. So I think the restaurant and that brew pub style model would worked really well for this area. There's not a lot of restaurants here. The restaurants that are here are all fantastic, but there wasn't a lot of diversity, I guess you could say, for options, food options. So food was always going to be kind of in the mind. It originally started with deli sandwiches, actually. So the idea was you'd get like a 6-pack and like an awesome deli sandwich.
Yeah.
And where we have our stage out in the restaurant, that was a deli counter.
Okay,
whenever like we first started. There was probably like 10 or 12 different sandwiches, kettle chips, that sort of thing. And the idea, like I said, was takeout sandwich, or maybe sit down sandwich, a couple beers, that sort of thing. Then we opened up the doors, started getting a lot of the community in, and there was a lot of demand for like, no, like I want like meat and potatoes. I want food. I don't want a sandwich. I want to eat. I want wings, whatever it may be, nachos. So we're like, okay, we got to do something here, and then we pivoted a couple months into it.
Yeah.
And started offering a whole range of options.
It sounds like you've had to do quite a few pivots here.
Yeah. It's been a fun journey. Yeah.
Fun, but I'm sure stressful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Let's try another beer.
Yeah, so this is our APA, our American Pale Ale. That was, I mean, apart from the amber, I want to say this is our beer. This is what represents
One of
us.
your big boys, your big sellers.
Yeah, exactly. That's our first SKU in the LCBOs. It's usually one of our first SKUs that like I try and not necessarily push, but I try and motivate some of our accounts to go with if they're looking for something a bit more crafty. I like to say it's like the gateway drug into IPAs.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's usually the question I ask too, is like, what's that kind of like gateway beer? So you just answered for me. So.
Yeah, that would be
awesome.
it.
5% or 6?
5.6.
Okay.
Yeah, 5.6. Dry hopped with like a whole whack load of Cascade hops. We kept it really simple. Flaked oats, 2-row malt, and a whole bunch of Cascade hops.
I was trying to figure out, it's the oats that I'm tasting.
Yeah, a little bit of creaminess there.
tasty.
Yeah.
Surprisingly for a 5.6, like pretty crushable.
Yeah.
Nice and light. Again, like I said, you have a beautiful terrace patio, so I could see myself doing a flight out there, and I'm sure the flight is a very popular option here.
Yep. My approach you said like very light there. My approach for beer has always been, don't get me wrong, I love big, bold statement beers, but from a business side of things, it makes more sense for me to create a beer that you can crush like 3 or 4 of and like really enjoy, or like maybe have 1 or 2 of this, 1 or 2 of that, still feel good after, rather than try and struggle through like one huge flavor bomb that is awesome in its own right, but I'm only going to sell 1 of them to you, right? Or maybe 2.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, Brockville's, it's a touristy town.
Yes.
To be honest, I'm sure a lot of Montrealers heading towards Toronto are stopping here in Kingston.
Quite a few,
to like grab a meal or a drink or something in between, and Toronto heading to Montreal or Quebec City even. It's just, you guys are kind of right in the middle of two major cities.
Absolutely.
This hits, like this is tourist, we get this. You have the waterfront, which is beautiful.
It's wild.
There's another bridge to the US not far from here as well.
We get a lot of American tourists coming over. Obviously not so much during COVID, but last summer was when we really started seeing the boaters come across, and we anticipate this summer is just going to be like wild.
I'm sure too, like beginning of 2019, you're like, okay, things are slow and you're only getting a trickle in of Americans near the end of the season. Now it's just, you hear that like American accent and you're like, yes, come.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come eat food, stay in Brockville.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
No, it's nice. It's when we were finally, as a show, able to get back to the US, I'm like, oh, they're like, yeah, we missed hearing Canadians in our pubs, like with your a boot and this. I'm like, we don't all say that.
Yeah.
Speaking of pivoting even more, a distillery and a cider?
Yeah, so we, after the beer, we were, I was like kind of challenging myself and my team really like kind of pushing what we know and what we can do. And then recently Ontario changed some of the laws regarding cider production. And we're like, okay, how do we do this? So I started talking to Hall's Apple Orchard, which is just on the other side of town, because we had already used their product for what I like to call like our winter radler. So I took our wheat beer and I took some of their apple cider, added some spices to it, and I kind of blended it together for this like winterized kind of radler almost. Anyway, speaking to them, they're like, yeah, we can supply cider to you. And so we got our license, started fermenting it, and a couple reiterations of the product, and we're really happy with it. It's a very dry, we like to call it a silver cider, filtered, clean, crisp. It reminds me almost of like a white wine.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
And then
we actually
vodka.
have it right here for you.
Oh, yeah, let's try the cider actually first.
And then after that, we were like, okay, my employers own a couple restaurants in Ottawa. And we're like, okay, so we have the beer, we have the cider, vodka. Let's do something with vodka. Let's get some bar rail going. So we were like, okay, let's just make an easy kind of tasting, very clean, simple vodka. And this was born out of that. Soon to be gin, and we're working, kind of playing with some ideas on some rum and some aged rum and some whiskey as well.
Just really trying to knock it out of the park there.
Yeah.
So
We're
you're ambitious, which is really, really good.
Yeah.
Because with the first two beers, I can taste the passion of your brewing behind them. So
thank you.
It's very big that you're trying to hit it out of the park, especially for a smaller community that is Brockville.
Yep.
And Ontario tourism. I just recently saw a video. There was yourself, Windmill, and our brew on that video that you posted on your Facebook. So
yeah,
sounds like you're just trying to drag anybody in who can consume alcohol
pretty much
legally.
Yep.
Come and enjoy a beer. And I'm assuming kids for some sort of maybe kids menu as well for kids who are coming in to eat and stuff like that.
Kids menu. We do special nights, that sort of thing. The space that we're in here, like just last weekend, we had a child's 1-year-old kind of birthday party in here. Right? Dads were drinking a couple beers. Everything was blocked off. Kids running around, toys out. Like we try and make it like a space that's welcoming to everybody. Yeah.
As a friend put it, it's daddy juice.
Daddy juice, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So the cider is, you said, it's apple.
Yep.
Clearly apple based. So.
Just apple based.
Yep.
Clean, crisp. I back sweeten it with a little bit of fresh apple cider as well. And
a little drier on the side? Or?
It's a little bit drier. Some of that back sweetening is to kind of balance out some of that dryness, but it's still predominantly like a dry
5%?
5%, yeah.
That seems to be the common one, unless they're big, bold ciders.
Yeah, I kind of just I aim for that. Yeah.
I mean, that's too. We're starting to discover in Canada and the eastern part of the U.S. is there's a lot of cideries out there that I had no idea.
Yeah, and they're doing great work as well. So. Actually, our friends out there, they have Bushel cider right next to them as well, and they do fantastic cider. Yeah.
Oh, it's great. It's easier than just going to the LCBO and buying like the mass-produced stuff. Is buy the smaller guys.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
And we were like we did a tasting panel and we were trying, no knock to any of the big cider producers either, but we're like, this is way too sweet. This is, I don't know, it's like thick or viscous. And we're like, okay, what do we like? What don't we like? And when we started getting into more of the craft ones, we're like, okay, this is awesome. Let's kind of go in this direction with it. And yeah, this was born out of it.
Yeah, it's nice, it's sweet, it's light.
Yeah.
It's almost like fluffy.
Right.
It's super tasty. As Connor from Mountain Max said, it's like a lawnmower beer, like lawnmower cider, where I'm mowing the lawn and now I want something sweet and refreshing.
Exactly.
And that, instead of for those who aren't into beer, that's a good pivot.
Exactly.
And then when it comes to your vodka, I saw on your board smoked Caesars. Where does that come from?
Yeah, so we have a smoker behind the bar.
Okay.
A big thing that we like to do, because we're like that one-stop kind of shop for our general community. We sell a lot of cocktails here. So we have a smoker behind the bar, and we use our vodka in the Caesar, put it in the smoker, and it develops a lot of that kind of like that applewood kind of characteristics of the smokiness.
I'll have to try that after.
Yeah,
after
definitely.
the show.
Definitely.
That's a big one. Maybe that's not a taster.
Yeah.
So amazing. So I mean, you're clearly a very, very busy person. 2019 to now, plus even just where you started, like you said, washing kegs and doing this to where you became. Has there been time to take a beercation?
Not specifically, no.
Okay.
Actually, having said that, it wasn't necessarily, it was for the wrong reason, but I made the most out of it. I was in Dublin
Nice.
in February, so obviously had some of my favorite beer, Guinness, which is my stout is kind of modeled after anyway.
Okay.
Vancouver. I was out in Vancouver 2021 just for a week, and the beer out there is just, well, it's phenomenal.
And I mean, with the pandemic kind of, in most people's eyes, petering off right now.
Yep.
And let's say that time opens up. Now you do have a very young child, so maybe you pass off to a grandparent for pass your child off to a grandparent for a little bit.
Yep.
Where's somewhere you'd love to take like solid 2-week beer-based, or even beer, cider, distillery-based booze vacation?
I love Quebec City. I would like to go and visit Quebec City a few more times. Really go into the craft beer world there. Outside of Canada, Vermont, Maine, that eastern seaboard is just kind of like, Massachusetts, all of that. I just want to go there and drink as much beer as possible.
Yeah. I've literally said that. I'm like, from Michigan to the Maritimes, and just kind of, we're spoiled.
Right.
So,
yeah, that's awesome.
And Quebec City, they're coming out with some great stuff.
Definitely.
They definitely need an NHL team back there.
It's definitely,
And with you kind of being in let's say, the middle of like Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal, as an NHL fan, who are you going for?
I was born and raised in Ottawa.
Okay.
So I'll have to say, I'm always an Ottawa Sens fan. With that in mind, I'm hoping Edmonton can pull through. A couple of the guys that work for me downstairs, Toronto fans, so I try not to get into it too much. At the end of the day, I want to see a Canadian team win. I'll say that much.
I mean, big ownership coming in too for Ottawa with Ryan Reynolds and like his group. And
absolutely.
Wrexham out in Europe.
I'm a huge soccer fan, so it's been fun to follow that as well.
That's awesome. What's the next beer I'm going to try? You mentioned the stout.
Yeah, our stout. Okay. It's a dry Irish stout. Very, very simple, I like to call it, but a lot of nuance to it. So it's nitrogen based, so it should be a little bit creamy. A lot of flaked barley, a lot of roasted barley, and two-row. And it's just kind of clean and simple.
Toast.
Cheers.
Oh yeah.
That's like my favorite beer to make, by far.
That sucked too, because I'm sure you were overproducing this stout for the St. Patrick's Day that first year, and then it's like, nope.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
That happened in Montreal too. It's like first time the parade's canceled in 190 years. We're like, what?
Yeah. What? What do we do?
What do I drink?
Yeah.
No, this is fantastic. It's nice, it's smooth. It's, I can imagine this on nitro too, just presenting like more pop to the flavor.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Probably my go-to if ever I'm drinking here. Yeah.
Now, Thousand Islands Brewery, Distillery, cidery in the future. For those who don't know what the Thousand Islands is, how would you explain that to someone?
Well, a region from, I'd probably say, Kingston to Cornwall on the St. Lawrence, made up of, literally 1,000 little islands.
Yeah.
Some are massive, some are small. It is a boating community. It is a tourism hub. It's a beautiful area if you enjoy anything to do with like water sports, kayaking, canoeing, camping, anything that goes with that. Yeah, it's just like kind of like a nice, really friendly area for tourism.
Yeah. Very, very Canadiana, I find, at the same time.
Absolutely,
so.
absolutely.
Or it's more water-based Canadiana.
Yeah.
So.
It's a great community. And even on the American side of things as well, Alexandra Bay, ABI as we like to say. Beautiful people, fantastic communities. It's great.
You're not far from Watertown as well, which is a pretty decent-sized community in the
I've
US.
gone over there go to Target a few times, right? So it's very convenient. Yeah.
No, it's great, and I do find there is, at least with the border states that we share, there's a lot of camaraderie of like, hey, let's support each other when we could travel back and forth.
Absolutely.
Hey, let's spend our money there, and we'll spend their money there. And
yep.
it's nice to have. So.
Yeah, one thing we're working on right now is the at the border crossings, the duty-free shops there. So hopefully in the next few weeks, you'll see some of our products at those stops as well. So
that would be huge.
Yeah,
I mean, the duty-frees. You can always tell by a border crossing for myself is if there's a duty free, there's always a lineup. If there's not, there's nobody there.
Absolutely,
so
yep.
Take the smaller ones
Absolutely.
when traveling.
Yeah.
So the duty free is a big thing, like especially across Canada and the US.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's going to come to fruition for us, and I think it'll be good.
I mean, it's very ambitious, and coming into this, your brew house is huge, and I was not expecting to see this.
Yeah, 30 barrel system. 4 or 5, actually 6 or 7 30 barrel fermenters and bright tanks, a couple 60s, and we have a 90 on the way as well.
From the outside and even on the side where I parked the car, it's like it looks like a warehouse, but it's so deceivingly big inside.
Yeah, it's unassuming, right? Like, so this was a sports store actually.
Oh,
it was a sports store for about Dave Jones Sports. And you could get anything from skis, snowboards to skates and tennis rackets, whatever it may be. Then it sat vacant for close to, I want to say, 10 years. And then the guys purchased the building, cut the hole in the floor, brought the tanks in, and the rest is history.
How did you get the stuff in? Because it's still kind of
I know, it's
boxed
pretty
in.
wild.
Like, did you have to take out windows occasionally to put stuff in? Like, how does this all work?
Having said that, now that they're in here, they're not going anywhere. They're in here for good. So whatever happens to us, this will be a brewery. There's a huge I-beam across the ceiling here, and they basically came in off a truck horizontally, came in through the back of the warehouse, all on their side, very delicately, and then brought them into the brew house and just slowly stood them up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, very slowly, very carefully, and then kind of adjusted into place. Each tank took quite some time to get in here.
Yeah.
And it was a juggling act as far as moving things around. And
I'm sure, I mean, you're on a busy street. I'm sure people weren't too happy with
No,
giant 18-wheeler backing up a fermenter.
Exactly. There was trucks lined up down the side here, and then even some of our new tanks that we've recently put in kind of block off the street. Forklift comes out, meets the truck, and then it's kind of a delicate balancing act to get it off the truck into our loading bay, which is not a big loading bay by any means, and juggling it through the existing space.
It's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a brewer, business, restaurant. I'm sure your partners definitely help with this kind of stuff too.
Oh,
but, it sounds like you have to be an engineer and you have to be an interior designer at the same time.
And so both Jay and Lucas is, they've both been in the pub industry and the restaurant industry for like 25 years, like it's insane. So the knowledge that they bring about just running places and how places operate, coupled with their designing and building of restaurants and the engineering that goes into that, they're fantastic at it.
Is that part of a group?
Yeah, so they are the two owners of the Barley Mow restaurants in Ottawa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they clearly have the experience, the restaurant side experience.
Yeah, I think Jay's been at it for 25 years now.
It's crazy how people find their industry and just stay with it.
Yeah.
It sounded like you were doing stuff before, and then you're like, no, I want to get to craft beer.
Yeah, I was
Beer's
doing whatever
very
it took
hard
to
out,
get in there, and yeah, absolutely. Like I've always been involved with the restaurant industry in some regard, but it's just that service is something that I've always like enjoyed doing and found passion in.
Cool. And I'm assuming the community more than stepped up when things shut down.
Absolutely.
Locals were, beer. I'll buy a flat instead of just a 6-pack. And
anything, if gift cards for when we reopen and they want to use it, like anything they were trying to help us out with. So yeah, it's been fantastic.
That's really, really important. Is you need your locals to keep you going.
Yep, I always say like the first like 500 kind of I don't want to say customers, but community members closest to us are our most important people. Like it's obviously we love when people stop here, but taking care of our neighbors is kind of values that we hold very dear.
Have you ever considered like a mug club type of thing for those like 100 people who come here all the time type of thing?
Actually, we have. We toyed with the idea a little bit. It's probably something we're gonna kind of evaluate in the next year or so.
Yeah.
But definitely something we want to try and do. Yeah.
I'm sure too, as for when the Jays are playing well or when sports teams playing well, you guys are just so many people. Plus, you have a band in every
Friday and
from what I've
Saturday.
seen, so,
yeah, open mic nights. We do trivia leagues here. You name
Busy.
it. Yeah, we try.
Busy.
Like I said, we try and be like a community kind of spot for everybody.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's local, but just seeing the brew house, it has that big feel at the same time. It's an interesting dichotomy you have here in this building.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Cool. What I'm going to try next here.
We have our lager here actually, which I'm a big fan of. Again, a light lager, light American lager, 4%, clean, crisp. We use a German lager strain.
You mentioned you have lagering tanks coming in the
We have
next...
a 90-barrel lagering tank arriving because we do keep up, but it would be nice to have that kind of fail-safe.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Crushable, right?
Lager.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very judgmental when I go to a brew pub, but it's always the lager first. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always, like, as a brewer as well, it's like, it's very easy, not necessarily to like hide the flaws of a beer, but to hide behind hops and flavorings and that sort of thing. A lager is kind of like a true test.
Yeah, that's delicious.
Yeah.
I'm very, very impressed. That's very, very tasty. Awesome. As you mentioned, I'm somebody who will love something like this, but also try the triple dry hop smoothie sour, whatever at the same time. And
Yeah.
as long as I'm supporting a small business, I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm with you on that.
You mentioned tourism earlier, so myself, I'm from Montreal.
Yep.
I don't know the area that great. I'm coming in, friends in the area to definitely check out.
Yep. Definitely on your way in, King's Lock Distillery, Windmill Brewery in Johnstown. Especially if you're coming from Montreal, you'll hit them first. Then obviously stop in here. And about 20 minutes the other side of us in Mallorytown, you have Our Brew Solar Brewery, Bushel Cider right next to them. And then you hit Gananoque Brewing Company as well. Then you go into the beautiful world of Kingston, and there's so many good breweries in Kingston. It's you're really spoiled for choice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. And that's somebody like Jordan St. John who writes about guys like yourselves and getting your business out there. He has the map of all the Ontario breweries. And it's insane how many breweries are opening in Ontario.
Oh, it's wild.
And Quebec too, I know we're getting spoiled too. Like our two provinces and BC, from what I've been told, we're probably the three most spoiled provinces for when it's coming to craft beer. Too,
oh, definitely. It's and like thankfully it's been everything's been managed very well as far as the growth is concerned. Like it's you hear a couple of horror stories and stuff like that, but
every business.
It's business, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we're like you said, we're spoiled here. It's great. A lot of great producers.
It's amazing, and I'm happy. Like I said, I'm happy like somebody like yourself and Thousand Islands is still here for me to come by and stop for a beer on my way to Kingston or on my way back home from Toronto. Instead of stopping in Kingston, I could stop here or the GAN. So,
exactly. Grab a 6-pack and then away you go or whatever.
Yeah. Or as you mentioned, gift cards, merch,
anything. Yeah.
You might not have a beer drinker in your life. You might not even have an alcohol drinker in your life, but people need T-shirts.
Absolutely. And actually, we launched our non-alcoholic beer, speaking about like non-alcohol drinkers. So we saw a demand for people shifting away from alcoholic beverages and coming in with a beer drinker, but it's like, no, I got to drive. I don't, that sort of thing. Being not necessarily a destination spot, but definitely being on a route in between some major hubs, it was important to get a product out to that market as well. So we launched our Sober Sailor, our non-alcoholic.
Yeah, the NA market's really starting to take off too.
Yeah,
so
it's really. I really enjoyed making this beer. It really, like pushed what I know about beer, and it was a good challenge. Yeah.
I know one of our first ever interviews, he was talking about dropping the Play-Doh in the beer to almost zero, so basically burning off all the excess sugar.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's a health conscious decision that people are making, is they're trying the keto diet or this diet or that diet, and if you still want to have a beer with no alcohol,
here you go.
The option is there. So
absolutely. And then we've got into the seltzer game as well, so we have those sugar-free, gluten-free options, and something for everybody. Yeah. It
literally sounds like you have no free time.
Yeah.
It's like just from this end of
this and then two little kids, and it's wild. Coaching soccer, I'm busy.
And the fact that you took time out of your very, very busy schedule to speak to us today.
I always love doing stuff like this.
So I really, really appreciate that. All right, let's go for at least one more beer on camera here.
So you have our choice of the Blanc, which is our new kind of Belgian wit beer, our West Coast IPA, which is dry hopped with a whole bunch of loose leaf Centennial and Chinook hops, and then our Peach Sour, which is like a Berliner Weiss.
Let's go with the Berliner Weiss.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, toast. Smells so peachy.
Yeah. Peach, and I actually add a little bit of apricot in there too.
Oh, it's nice, and the sour's balanced too.
Yeah, it's approachable.
It's super approachable. Oh, this is fantastic. Yeah, light. Maybe it's because the sun's finally out, and after we've had a week of rain and all that stuff, but everything like feels like a patio beer or patio beverage that I've been having.
Yeah.
So.
We were at the Kingston, the I Heart Beer and Taco Festival last weekend, and that peach sour was just like, I actually had to call my bartender here, and I'm like, dude, I need you to drop off another keg. He's like, what? I'm like, it's not busy there, right? And he's like, yeah, it is. I'm like, well, I need another keg. So he threw it in his car and drove it down to us. We were just burning through it.
I mean, Kingston's only an hour away too.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
An hour away if you do the speed limit.
Yeah, exactly. Fun little outing for him.
Yeah. Fantastic. So you mentioned the iHeart Taco Fest.
Yeah.
I know Ontario does an iHeart beer/food thing.
Yeah.
Across the board. How is that for Thousand Islands to bring their products?
It was incredible.
Okay.
It is the first festival that I've done since COVID, so that was interesting. There's some nerves there as well that go with it. They are fantastic to work with as far as like the organizational side on their side of things, and just the exposure that it brought us into markets. It was like we were standing there in Kingston. It's like, oh yeah, I've heard of you guys, but I haven't had access to your beer, whatever it may be. And then they try it, and then they fall in love, and I'm like, yeah, this is where you can find us. And the exposure, like you can't put a price on that. Like it was just awesome.
I'm sure your PR team too is coming up like, hey, there's this festival now, and the festivals are coming back in full force.
Oh, absolutely.
How's this summer and fall looking?
Oh, we're going to be busy.
Yeah.
It's almost like there's probably like 1 or 2 a month that we're trying to get involved with, or being invited to, and I was always hesitant to do it, in that it takes a lot out of me sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talking to people.
Well, I mean, you're marketing and you're probably drinking at the same time. Yeah.
So, but then doing this festival is like, no, I love this. I love doing this. The people are great. They just want to have fun at the end of the day. And if I can bring a little bit of fun to them doing these festivals, then like, why not, right? So the more I do right now, the better.
I haven't attended a art festival in Ontario yet. It is in the future. I've done Winter Brewed.
Yeah.
And I believe the Great Ontario Beer Festival in the Waterloo region is returning this year. So that's going to be a big one too, I'm
it's going
assuming.
to be awesome, yeah.
So.
And for the most part, like, especially this art, coupled with the food was really good because they're not just there for the beer, they're there for like really good food at the same time. And that whole like atmosphere that it brought people from all kind of like a broad, diverse kind of group of people coming in to try our products, which is awesome.
Plus, it's in Kingston too, so you're already getting
Right
everybody
there.
from. Just there's that literally that ferry to Wolf Island,
Yeah.
and the bridge over to the U.S. And
Absolutely.
so it's
big
good to
hub.
get the draw back, and you can tell people just want to. My summer is so packed already this year, and it's like, oh, I got to find time to still visit breweries and drink
Yep.
and enjoy my own life, and not just have to stay busy because people are like, sweet, we can do stuff again.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
And I'm not even close to a business owner. I sit at home and type on a computer all day. So it's crazy. And, hopefully 2023, things are back to relatively normal, let's call it. So,
Yeah, the new normal,
Yeah.
and we can plan for lots of festivals, and looking forward to years to come, being able to tour around. And we have actually the at the end of the month, beginning of June, the Canadian Brewery Awards that we're going out to Halifax for. So
Yeah.
we're really looking forward to that trip as well.
Yeah, the CPAs are pretty big when you
Yeah.
do it. So, I mean, for speaking of that and staying busy, what's next for Thousand Islands Brewery as a brand?
As a brand, really trying to work our way, I want to say down the 401, Kingston. It'd be nice to break into the Toronto market as far as kind of where you can get our products. A couple more SKUs in the LCBOs, gin, whiskey, rum, as far as the distillery operations are concerned. Lots of festivals, lots of fun, lots of good times, and just kind of like getting that, getting back after COVID and really making a name for ourselves, getting out there.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Love it. And for those who are looking for Thousand Island Brewing Company, where can people find you?
Yeah, so you'd grab us at a couple different LCBOs in Ottawa, a couple different LCBOs in Kingston. Obviously here on site in our beer store, you can get all our products to go. And then if you want to enjoy a pint somewhere, all the Barley Mo's in Ottawa, Moxie's restaurants, a couple mom and pop restaurants around the place, around Ottawa. We really stick to this kind of Ottawa, Brockville, Kingston area.
And for those who are looking for the physical location, where are you located?
65 King Street West, right downtown Brockville in the, what we like to call the waterfront or the historic center of Brockville.
Owen, thank you very, very much for hosting us today. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, no
Fantastic
problem.
beers. I'm looking forward to trying the Caesar and some food hereafter.
Yeah.
Once again, thank you. We can never appreciate somebody like yourself enough to step up and do this for us.
Hey, honestly, anytime. Like
Thank
it was a pleasure.
As for us, everything's going to be in the show notes. allbeerinside.com is the website. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit that like button and the subscribe button. That helps the show a lot. Add All Beer Inside on all social media, and as I say at the end of all episodes, drink craft, not crap.